Hello and welcome. So, how would you know that your subconscious relationship beliefs are keeping you stuck, or your programs keeping you stuck, and how to shift them? If you don't know me, my name is Olga. I am a relationship coach and advanced fast safety practitioner. And in today's Facebook Live and video blog, we're talking about subconscious programs and how they affect our relationships, and most importantly, how to deal with them. Now, this is the question that comes up a lot in my conversation with clients, and I've been doing this work for over 6 years, helping people figure out those patterns, break those patterns, and create better relationships. And the truth is, the tricky part about subconscious beliefs is that they're subconscious, right? So it's really hard to identify them, it's really hard to figure them out because they are playing on the back and they are literally invisible to us. They are in our blind spots, or like when you are in a picture, it's hard to see the picture from outside. But there are common signs and there are ways to see if this is something that's holding you back from inside. There's a subconscious inner block, and this is how you can figure it out. So, for example, let's say you are in a relationship with someone and maybe you're going through some challenging things, or even you are on a brink of separation and divorce, and maybe you are even living apart and trying to kind of figure things out and work things out, and maybe he is a free spirit, or you are a free spirit, and he is someone who is a saver and you're a spender, and maybe you are an entrepreneurial soul and he's not quite on board with that, and so you keep on kind of bumping your heads over and over, and you're wondering, okay, is it just a difference of opinion, we can work it out, or is it something deeper that need to be addressed and we cannot actually work it out because we are so different? So let's talk about some of your beliefs and your inner blocks that might be keeping you in this process. And as you work through them, one of the two things happen. Number one, you might be able to work things out and figure out what's going on and resolve those differences. Number two, you will realize that that person is not a good person for you, and there is pretty much no way to work things out to where you both are happy, and it's okay to let it go, right? But you have to start with your beliefs and your inner fears to get to this step. So the first key that it's actually an inner belief and it's not a surfacey thing is that you are deeply unhappy or unsatisfied in an area of your life. And that, by the way, applies to everything. Could be relationship, could be money, could be business, could be health, anything at all. So if you are unhappy or unsatisfied, that is the first sign that you have limiting beliefs in that area. The second sign, or another sign, is the repetitive nature of that. So let's say you're kind of starting to get yourself that you're dating the same guy in a different pair of shoes, or maybe this pattern shows up in that relationship over and over, or if it's your first marriage, a serious relationship, you remember feeling like this sometime in childhood or in your school or sometime before. So you can see that you kind of bring in that way of feeling or being or interacting, even though it's different scenery, it's a very similar dynamic. Finally, sign number three, you have a lot of fears in that area. To give you a practical example, when I was in the midst of dysfunctional and very difficult marriage, one of my biggest fear was the fear of divorce, to the point where I couldn't even say this word out loud without feeling, actual intensity. So I had to tap on this word and release the fears around divorce to even start moving forward. So ask yourself, what are some strong triggers or fears that you kind of dancing around and you kind of, a little bit avoiding to addressing, because that's actually the real deal. That's the golden mine, and that's where you want to go to work through this. Now, let's say you are starting to realize and discover some of this, and you are bumping across some of the very specific beliefs, and there's a list, but some of the one that I work with client often is things like, I don't feel heard, therefore I'm not important. Or maybe something that has to do with divorce or separation, like you feel like, if I divorce this person or if I separate, my kids will hate me, right? So those are limiting beliefs, those are deep, strong beliefs and blocks that are worth addressing. Maybe you feel like my husband will never support me growing my business. Maybe you feel like I'm not good enough to leave this toxic relationship, and if I do, I'll be, single forever, right? And so whatever those things are, start noticing them, start bringing them up on the surface so you can actually process and deal with them. The thing about limiting beliefs is that they're just that. They are beliefs and they are limiting, and you can change them to create better beliefs. And you have probably done this process on some level where you have changed something and you went through the revelation. So I want you to notice that even though some of these things might be new, it's probably not brand new, and you have experienced those changes on some level. And even though it might look like it's hard and difficult and very, very scary, especially anything that has to do with separation or dealing with big thing in your marriage, I want you to notice that you have been through something like that. I can almost guarantee, especially people who are listening to these videos, entrepreneurs, moms, you have dealt with big things and you have overcome them. So when you are ready to actually process and release those beliefs, let's talk about some things that you can do to help you unpack them. So we said that it's good to have a mentor, and if you're in a place to hire help and work with someone one-on-one, that probably would be a fastest course to get there. But if you're not quite there yet and you want to do some work yourself, here are the steps that you can follow. Number one, get very, very clear on what you actually want. I said it probably 100 times all over the internet this year, but most people don't get what they want because they don't know what they want. Did you hear me, guys? Most people don't get what they want because they don't get what they want because they don't know what they want. So get very, very clear. I give this assignment to just about every client that I work with, to sit down and write down step by step, word by word, how you want to feel in that area of your relationship. So if you are in marriage or a love life that you're trying to figure out, talk about very specifically what kind of interactions that you want. You can say, I desire deep, connected, supportive relationship, right? Or in our interactions, we are listening to each other. We are interested in each other's lives. We are supportive of each other's adventures. Whatever those things are, get very, very specific. The second thing that I want you to do, I want you to start questioning things that you already have in your life and things that you already believe in your life. So if you are in a relationship or a marriage that is mediocre or not satisfying for you, start listening to your thoughts and see what is it that you're saying to yourself. Maybe you say things like, I don't deserve to be in a happy relationship, or I cannot have both, a happy family for my kids and safe home for my kids and a good man in my life. Maybe you're saying things like, well, there's no man out there who will even accept me for who I am, with all my strengths and perks and aspirations and ambitions, right? So what kind of things that you're telling to yourself where you are almost talking yourself out of getting those things that you wrote about in the first step? Again, as you start questioning them, that's where I say, oh, well, maybe that's not true. Maybe I can have both. Oh, maybe it's totally fine for me to have a successful business and a supportive partner. Maybe it's totally fine for me, for my kids to love me and be in a happy marriage, and for me to be a very happy intimate relationship with my partner. The last thing that I want you to do, I want you to start releasing your fears. Oh, hello everybody. Hi Mary, how you doing? And the way how you do it is, I know it's going to sound very, very primitive, but you have to face them, right? So this morning I had a session with a client. We were tapping on a fear of swimming, which turned out to be really not about a fear of swimming, but about forgiving her mom. Isn't that interesting? And so when you start looking at those fears, what you'll notice is that there are patterns that kind of replaying in a lot of areas in your life, but you use in those fears an opportunity to practice them, right? It's kind of like with addictions. Have you heard the stories of people who they would quit drinking, but then they would start smoking, they would quit smoking, then start coffee, they would quit coffee, they start, sugar, right? And it's the same pattern bringing over and over. It's a very similar dynamic with the patterns of your subconscious beliefs, right? You bring it over from one thing to the other, so start noticing what those are, and fears are really, really clear signs to help you release it and to help you clear it. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching. And as I'm speaking to you guys, it makes me think I need to make a video on releasing the fear. So we'll do some tapping together. So keep an eye on this space. And if you are not one of my subscribers, I'd love to have you over. Go over to www.olgabochareva.com and you'll get a video and a love note from me weekly into your inbox. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.